Sixers Fix with Scott Ninnis. Join one of the Adelaide 36ers' favourite sons as we deep dive into everything past and present about one of the most storied franchises in the NBL. It's Sixers Fix, your Adelaide 36ers podcast.
Here we go! Hello and welcome back to Sixers Fix with Scott Ninnis, your Adelaide 36ers podcast, and we're talking about one of the form teams of the NBL right now, so really looking forward to this show. Another big win for the 36ers last week. A couple of the players are the talk of the league right now as well. We've got a very special guest, a South Australian boy that's playing in the opposition right now, but really looking forward to our chat with him. So plenty to get through. I'm Chris Pike, your co-host, but the Adelaide 36ers legend himself, the only man involved in all four championships, Scott Ninnis. How do we find you for another week?
I'll never get tired of you introducing me like that, Chris. I got to be honest. Let me tell you, I've never said this before, but I love the introduction to the show. I'm a bit of a rock and roll man myself. Love hearing the guitars. Really enjoying that. But mate, we're up and about. We're 4-2. The 36ers are. Well, I don't want to say flying. I don't want to jinx this, but no, it's come together over the last game or two, and obviously having all these home games helps, and there's still a lot of work to do. But very exciting going forward, and there's a couple of guys playing. Well, a great team that's playing at the moment that's really worth following, and very excited about what's going on at the moment.
Yeah, it was a really good round three. Obviously started off with probably the most complete performance of the season in the win on Wednesday against the New Zealand Breakers, and then on Saturday it was a hard-fought win against the Sydney Kings. I mean, the Kings might be short on manpower, but they're not short on heart and spirit right now. So that was a really gritty win, and to be on a winning streak right now, I mean, let's be honest, after round one with that 24-point loss to Melbourne, and then it was a bit of a lucky double overtime win, and then the loss to the Phoenix, we were starting to have some doubts, but ever since then, this team's been playing fantastic.
Well, mate, you do make your own luck, but we could have very easily been 0-4 to start the season, and then I think this podcast and every news article we're reading would be completely different to what it is now. But the chips have fallen where they are, and now we're 4-2, and going in with a lot of confidence. So. Look, I honestly believe that, that we can win these next couple of home games and go into, well, I guess the other thing too, just take it one step back, is no one the hell knows what's going on at the moment. I mean, what's happening in Melbourne, is that going to affect the bubble? But all you can do is concentrate on the now. The now is that we're 4-2. Hopefully we can get Sydney back here on Saturday night, be 5-2, and then... who knows what happens going forward?
Absolutely. Now, a big show here on Sixers Fix with Scott Ninnis to look forward to. We'll have all our award updates, so our Premium Wine Tours Player of the Year, we'll get our latest votes on that. We'll have our Australian Motors Mitsubishi Player of the Week. Probably no surprise who that's going to be once again. And also, thanks to Sports Card World, later on I'll catch up with Connor Henry for our Ask the Coach segment. And also thanks to Sports Card World, Scott, we have a special guest this week. You were lucky enough to catch up with one of the Sydney Kings superstars, an Olympian, but more importantly, a proud South Australian.
An Adelaide boy, Brad Newley, through and through. He's a great lad. I've had a lot to do with him. Was assistant coach in Townsville for him in his second year in the NBL, but always loves to know what's going on back home, and it hurts a little bit. I like to see to see him leave. And I was assistant coach at Adelaide when he signed with Townsville, and I was at that time I was really I knew how hard that teams like Townsville and West Sydney with Gordy McLeod were going after him, and was really trying to get the club on board to really turn their attention to him. It didn't happen, unfortunately, so we lost him. Then a couple of years later, we lose Joe Ingles, and we look at these multiple Olympians who should have been playing for the 36ers in a perfect world. But we love Newles. He's 36 in. Well, he probably wouldn't appreciate me telling that, but he's in another 2 weeks and still going and still playing well. Like he's. like he's adjusted his game. I mean, that time he spent in Europe, really, I think was key to him in becoming a complete professional and honing his craft. And always great to have a chat with him. He's awesome news. Apart from the fact he's a Forrestal boy, coming from a South Adelaide boy like myself, but it was a great chat.
Absolutely. So really looking forward to that a little bit later on Sixers Fix for this week. Okay, Scott, let's go back and have a look at the games in round 3 for the 36ers as well. And of course, this review is brought to you by AllStar Photos. Kelly Barnes, fantastic supporter of ours here at Sixers Fix and a fantastic supporter of basketball in South Australia as well. He's been photographing basketball here in this state for 25 years now. He's the best in the business. You can see his work wherever you look, but check him out, allstarphotos.com.au. Get in touch with him at info@allstarphotos.com.au. He provides sporting clubs with the option to use a locally owned business, which is AllStar Photos, supports grassroots sporting clubs, provides them with some fundraising options to go with their team photos, action photos, your portrait photos, everything you could hope for. Kelly Barnes will take care of you, so get in touch with him. And thanks very much to Kelly and AllStar Photos for supporting us here at Sixers Fix. So let's get to our review now, Scott, of round 3. Let's go back to last Wednesday night. There was no guarantees going into this game against the Breakers after the overtime game between the two teams 5 days earlier. Corey Webster was coming back for New Zealand to add an extra scoring punch, but by the end of the night, I think it was the most complete performance by the 36ers this season. 88-78 was the final score, and so many players stepped up. I don't think anyone really stepped on the court that didn't make a handy contribution. I mean, Humphries was brilliant again, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 4 blocks. You look at Josh Giddey's stat line, it was unbelievable. 13 points, 10 rebounds and 8 assists. And those two, rightfully got a lot of the headlines, but Daniel Johnson still had 17 points. Tony Crocker, probably his best game. He had 14 points. We'll get to Sunday Detch and his all-round game in a moment. Donald Sloan contributed off the bench. To me, it was probably the best four-quarter performance so far.
I think you're absolutely right, mate. It was our most complete performance, and I think what it did is, we sat back there and go, okay, there's something about this team. Like, this is a team that can make the playoffs this year. This is not a team that could just make up the numbers. They had it right. They got their shit together. They got their roles right. Isaac Humphries has blown us all away for what he's bringing. We watched that game and felt that, if Josh Giddey wasn't on the court, we weren't going to win that game. Like, it almost seemed like every time he got subbed out, he just had an unbelievable performance. And I called it early. I said in the first quarter that he was going to get a triple-double, and he fell just short. But, you just know that's going to happen at some stage.
Yep.
DJ is DJ. But you touched on it before. Like, Sunday Detch, I think, is the guy who's probably not flown under the radar. I think anyone that knows basketball can see what he brings to the team defensively. But, he's made some really important baskets over these last couple of games. Body Nodge came out yesterday and said that he should have been in this extended Boomers squad. So, look, I think he's, there's no question that what I think about him, he's probably my favourite player in the team. He's just a fantastic guy, and he's that defender. He's that guy that, okay, no matter who you put him on, that guy's going to have to work hard to get whatever he gets. So, it was an incredible game, and I think going into the game, I went into the game with Brett Maher, and we were both really concerned that it was going to be another repeat of the second game against the Phoenix, where they were going to make the necessary adjustments and maybe give us a bit of a touch up. But no, it was a fantastic game to watch.
Fascinating to get your thought. And Sunday had a big say in what I'm about to ask you. No, there's no doubt with his defense. You saw close up Lamar Patterson's performance. Have you ever seen a MVP candidate who we've all thought was capable of winning an MVP award if he fires up this season have a game like he did on last Wednesday? He played less than 15 minutes, didn't score, missed all 6 of his shots, and he just didn't look like he wanted to be out there. Once the Webster brothers stopped passing him the ball, he lost complete interest.
To be honest with you, I'm surprised he's still got a job now. I thought the way the coach burned him and just stopped playing him, late in that game, I thought he was making a statement to him, and I was actually thinking he was setting him up for, maybe to get rid of him. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but look, sometimes it's all about, the situation you find yourself in, and it's probably not all that dissimilar to Hobson with the Melbourne United. Yep. Like it just hasn't worked yet. Now Patterson's probably different because, people are saying he's not in shape and that's probably fairly evident. Whereas sometimes it's always interesting over the course of the NBL history, some people get in a situation that just suits them and it's perfect for them. And then they go in search of, more minutes or more money in a lot of cases. And it just doesn't work out. You find that situation that works for you. To me, you stick with it and you just go with it until that well dries up. But I'm not really sure what's going to happen there. But he needs to start, I guess, getting the confidence of the coach and performing well fairly quickly, because we know what happens to imports. If that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and unfortunately for him, they haven't been able to play a game since. They've had their trip to Perth that got cancelled thanks to COVID, and they've got a bit of a wait before they play their next game this Saturday night in Cairns as well. So he's had a long wait to think about that too. But I guess that's a problem for the Breakers to worry about. So after Wednesday night, Scott, the 36ers backed up against the Sydney Kings. The Kings were actually probably the fresher team, despite being their road team. It was a good game, I think, in the end. But the 36ers, they felt in control, I think, for most of it, even though the scoreline, 85-80, got fairly close. But again, a similar story with so many players contributing. And again, Sunday Desh's performance defensively on Casper Ware can't be underestimated. And then you've got Isaac Humphries outstanding again. Tony Crocker very good again. So many guys stepping up, and a pretty good performance, even though the Kings certainly gave it a good crack.
Well, they did. I mean, they've been decimated by injuries, obviously the Kings, and I felt coming into the game that it was a game that we should win, which we ultimately did, but jumped out of the gates incredibly well. They got back into the game, they trapped, and that will be something that I know that Connor would have worked on all week with the team just to be ready for that, but it was... Look, again, I will be really disappointed if we don't back up and win on Saturday night. I know they'll make their adjustments, and maybe it's amazing what a couple of wins will do. You suddenly think that, we're going to be at home. Those roles are getting sorted out. Connor's narrowed the rotations, which I love. I think that's something that Dean Vickerman at Melbourne United perhaps needs to do. When you've got 11 players, on the court in the first quarter and a half, it's hard to get people in their roles, and I feel sorry for guys like Brendan Tees and Alex Majonna and that. I mean, but that's the way it goes. I mean, you're better off.
But generally, your best players play better the more minutes they play.
Well, absolutely, and it's better off having 2 people pissed off with you than 10 people pissed off with you too. So I think we've narrowed our rotations. Guys know that they're going to play a certain amount of minutes, and I like our chances. Now, in the same breath, Sydney will make adjustments. I mean, Casper Ware, is a proven superstar in this league. Now, I know, what happened towards the end of last year and this year, he hasn't got it going, but, this is a guy who went and played against OKC and had 25 points against an NBA team. I mean, this is a guy that can play the game. He is going to get it. It's going to start rolling for him at some stage. Vasiljevic, we're going to have to do a much better job on him. I think.
28 points.
Yeah, well, we gave Crocker, points, MVP points in that last game. I don't think he defended him all that well at times during that game. That will need to change or find a better matchup. But there's no point in resting on any laurels. We're going to have to be much better this game to beat them.
I just wanted to go back to Sunday Desh for a minute. I really liked what Conor Henry said post-match. He was asked about Sunday and why it was a strange question. Obviously, somebody who didn't quite understand the game too well. He was asked why was Sunday playing so much in the second half when he didn't score. in the first half. Connor's answer was fantastic. He said, he's my best defender, and I want him out on the court as much as I possibly can. The only time I want to take him out is if he needs a rest. And I think that's a fantastic attitude. If you can build a team around such a great defender, I mean, you have a look at what Perth have done for so many years around Damien Martin. I mean, if you have the best defender in the league, keep him out there because he's going to lock down the opposition's best player. And have a look at what he did this week with Lamar Patterson and Casper Ware.
Well, it's just such a... Mate, it's just such an advantage to be able to have someone you can put on the best player in the other team. You know, like I played with Darren Lucas 1,000 years ago back with the South East Melbourne Magic. He just went to their best player, you know, and that's Sunday. Whether it's your best 1, 2 or 3, you just put them in there. And you know, people are going to get hot. You're not going to shut them down every time, but they're going to have to work for everything they got. And it was back in those Magic days with Gorgon, it was a theory that we had against guys like Ricky Grace and these superstar point guards. You know, like we would just try and wear them down over the course of the game. So you get in that last 5 minutes of a game, you know, they don't have, you know, they've had the crap beaten out of them for 40 minutes and maybe it's just that last shot that they miss because of that. So, you know, Sunday is that guy. Like you're just able to put him on someone and they know they're in for a battle. And that's a very rare thing because, especially in this day and age where everyone's looking and, you know, I did some coaching clinics with Brett Maher today and we looked at the leading scorers and some of the scores that are happening in the NBA at the moment. You know, there ain't a lot of defense playing. You know, like when the scoring averages are off the chart. You got someone that you can go in there and is going to lock someone down and just make them battle for everything you got. You got something special.
Yeah, absolutely. That segues nicely into our Player of the Year voting, Scott. Thanks to Premium Wine Tours, very generously we'll be giving away 2 tours of 4. One to one of our listeners here on Sixers Fix and one to the player that wins our Player of the Year award. And I think it's fair to say after round 2 we thought we were going to have a runaway winner in DJ, but it's got a lot closer now. We've got another leader, and we have a look at the 2 games from round 3, Scott. And of course these votes are coming from you and Brett Maher, so we certainly can't fault the credibility of it. So against the Breakers, we've got 3 votes Isaac Humphries, 2 votes Josh Giddey, 1 vote Sunday Desh. And then against the Sydney Kings, Isaac Humphries again 3 votes, Sunday Desh with the 2, and Tony Crocker with the 1. So that leaves our leaderboard on the Premium Wine Tours Player of the Year award. Isaac Humphries with 13, Daniel Johnson with 9, Josh Giddey with 6, and Sunday Desh on 5. If those 4 players can keep playing the way they are, this 36ers team can certainly be playoff bound, if not further.
Mate, I was ready to ring up DJ and ask him what day after the season he wanted to do his wine tour. I know you and I have spoken about that. Yeah. And then Isaac Humphries has just gone bang and just, awesome game back to back to back to back. It's been quite extraordinary what he's been able to do. And look, you know, I think, and I think you probably think the same thing, I think he's probably in MVP form at the moment. Like what he does,
he has to be leading it right now, I think.
Well, I think he does because, you know, and hopefully the people that, are voting for this are seeing not what he's just doing at one end of the court, but the other end of the court. Exactly. And no one's doing what he's doing at both ends of the court at the moment. He's off the chart. You know, Josh Giddey is we're always going to be talking about him every week. He's going to continue to impress. Sloan and Crocker, you feel that they're fitting into the system and doing what they do. Sunday does his thing, and then everyone else fits into the rest of their roles. So I think we're ahead of a lot of teams, maybe every team, as far as getting those roles established. And I spoke about Melbourne United. Yes, you've got the best talented team in the league, but everybody wants minutes, and that's a tricky thing. And like that's not always going to work well if someone thinks they need to be playing more than they want. But once again, nice problem to have as well. So I think we're settling down nicely, and let's be realistic as well. every game's been at home, so it's been a blessing in disguise for that as well. But I certainly like where we sit at the moment, and I'm thinking playoffs. I think there's no reason why this team can't make the playoffs, and then if you get there, then anything can happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, moving on, now time for our Player of the Week award winner here on Sixers Fix, thanks to Australian Motors Mitsubishi. These prize packs we've been giving away. We've given away a couple of them already, Scott, and some very, very happy winners on the show. So we've had a good response to our vote on social media again. We put up Isaac Humphries against Sunday Detch, and I don't think it's any disrespect to Sunday, but a pretty, almost 100% votes went the way of Isaac, which is no surprise. But yeah, I mean, he's just playing such great basketball right now, and it's good that the fans are recognising it.
Absolutely, and the last couple of home games, been good to see Dylan Nunn from Australian Motors Mitsubishi. We've had a couple of pre-game drinks with him and spoken about the game and what we're looking forward. He's been fantastic. We really appreciate his support from Australian Motors Mitsubishi, but yeah, I think you're right. It's like you said, there's no offence to Sunday, but it's a no-brainer with Isaac over these last couple of games, and he's been incredible. And the fact that him and Josh, getting the call up in that extended Boomer squad, and I don't think that that's necessarily the end for them. I think the way that Isaac's playing. You got a position with the massive shoes of Bogut to fill. Yep. Obviously, Baines is going to be a walk-up start. I think Isaac's really got a chance to make that team, and I think Josh could too, depending on which way they want to go. Like if you want a bloody young kid who, if you need to throw in, is not going to be deer in the headlights, is going to go out and do his thing as well. So very exciting. I feel really sorry for DJ. I think that. There was all those years that, he's putting up 20 and 10 every year and didn't get the opportunity, and now that he's 31 or 32, obviously that opportunity is not going to present itself. But, let's celebrate the guys that are in there and hope they can put their best foot forward and make the final team.
Absolutely. Now, we're about to give away another prize pack thanks to Australian Motors Mitsubishi as well now here on Sixers Fix, Scott. So let me put all of the names into a hat. We'll get a drum roll. We'll announce a winner. And our winner this week, Scott, is... We do have a winner coming up, Scott, and here it is. It's Jason Cromwell, one of the people that voted for Isaac Humphries in our Australian Motors Mitsubishi Player of the Week award. And Jason, you're winning a special prize pack. We'll get in touch with you to let you know how we can get it out to you. So thanks very much to everybody that voted, and thanks to Australian Motors Mitsubishi for making it possible. And we'll come back next week with a couple more players that you can select from, Scott. But before we move on and take a look at the Kings game in more detail for Saturday night, we'll get to our chat with Brad Newley, who you were lucky enough to catch up with. What can we look forward to hearing from the Sydney Kings superstar? But as we said at the start, he's an Adelaide boy, and he's been an Olympian. He's done just about everything in a remarkable career.
Oh, I just think you need to look at his body of work. I mean, this is a guy that was always destined to be a star in basketball. Went up to Townsville in his first year, Rookie of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, MVP of the AllStar game. Has 3 incredible years, and then goes and has a stellar career in Europe. Is drafted in the NBA, which unfortunately that never happened, but just a 2-time Olympian. I mean, he's one of the greats of South Australian basketball, and I think that's the way you need to look at it, is that, like him and Phil Smythe and Joe Ingles and Brett Maher, I mean, these guys are at the top of the tree. I mean, and Newley is completely part of that, and there's no doubting where he sits in the he's right at the top of the tree with that.
Absolutely. Okay, let's get straight to our chat with Brad Newley. Thanks to Sports Card World.
And welcome back to Sixers Fix with Scott Ninnis. Very privileged to be here today with the one that got away, the great Brad Newley, now plying his trade with the Sydney Kings. Welcome to Adelaide, Brad.
Oh, lovely to be here, Scott. Not much has changed. A few grey hairs on both of us, but you have more. But yeah, it's good to be home. Probably not the best circumstances given, COVID and all that, but, we're in town to play Adelaide again this Saturday, so just excited to be home.
Well, let's talk about this season, mate. It's one like we've never seen before. You blokes haven't been home since basically Christmas Day. You found yourself stranded in Adelaide for a week, with, as you and I both know, there could be worse places to be stranded. How's the team coping with being away from home for so long? Any idea when you'll be able to get back home and play home games at all?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question I've been getting from everyone is, when are you going home and all that kind of stuff. I think as a group we've managed things really well with the travel because it's a group, haven't had too much changeover of players, just a couple, a new import here and there and a couple of young guys, but there's been no bitching or moaning. We've just kind of got on with the job. I think it dates back to a camp we had before the season even started. We expected something like this to kind of happen. We've been through some kind of adversity with the final situation last year, so the group already has a tough layer to it. The only thing right now is just having a few injuries that we're trying to manage, but we're optimistic we might get home soon, but we'll just have to wait and see with that. But we're well looked after. We're sleeping in nice hotel rooms. We've got apartments. I'm lucky enough to have some of my family. My family were with me for a month of it as well. So we've managed it pretty well, and the results will come.
Yeah, we don't like to talk too much about pre-season camps here, Newells. The Adelaide Crows didn't go that well for them a couple of years back. But let's talk about last weekend's game. The Sixers jumped you early and you got blokes played your way back into the game, and I thought at one stage it looked like you might have gone on with the job. What adjustments do you make for this week? Obviously getting off to a better start, I'd imagine. What can we expect to see on Saturday night?
Well, you're a coach, you tell me. I won't give too much away, given this is a 36ers program, but I'm not sure. But, everyone really saw it. Yeah, we were a bit slow at the start. You might put that down to a bit of, carryover from being away for a bit. And, our roster situation too. We played two kids. One of the kids we played was Archie. I presented him with his Year 12 jumper last year. So he was just a fan in the stands. Now he's with us on the road, and he's a good young kid. But I think with Adelaide, they're different, but at the same time they're not so different to what they were last year. They put a lot of heat on the rim. They shoot a lot of free throws. I think that's something we can do a better job of. I know personally, keeping our hands out on defence. Isaac Humphries is in career, a young career, but is showing right now that he's putting up MVP type numbers. He's a guy that we have to be very wary of, and DJ as well. I thought Sunday Deck was very effective too down the stretch, and Croker and the other guys that they did a pretty good job as well. So all of us need to step up in different ways. We put a press on late, got it back to 3 points, and I think in hindsight maybe if we had have kind of cooled the Jets there just a little bit, got our breath back, and probably played a bit more in the half court, we probably could have got away with the result. So. Close but not good enough. But I think the adjustments that we'll make this week, will help us for sure.
Now, Newells, you're eligible for the Masters Games yourself. Another birthday coming up in a couple of weeks. I guess the obvious question, how much longer do we see you on a court for? I'd say you'd be pretty happy with the way you're playing at the moment. Just keep going till the body gives up, or do you have a plan for when the end comes?
Yeah, I look at myself. Like last year, I was a starting player on a team that went to the grand final and played 28 minutes a game. And even this year, I'm still playing high minutes, heavily involved in the rotation. So nowhere in my mind, I'm thinking of the end game, because once you're done, you're done. You don't come back from that. So my mindset is, in my mind, I'm 26, not 36. So, you do a better job of, looking after yourself, your day-to-day, your diet, your recovery becomes more and more important. And I think what I'm benefiting from now is I've aged a bit, and what's come into the game now is your loading and the catapult, your GPS monitoring and that kind of stuff. That's something I've when it first came in, I thought it was all bullshit, really. But now I see the benefits of it, and I'm working close with the trainer and the coach about what I need to do on the day-to-day to get myself right for the weekend. And that's something I got really good at last year, and I'll continue to do that this year. And, like I said, I'll keep playing until, I can. It's what I know. I know basketball. It's what I'm good at, so I'll keep sticking at it.
And yeah, obviously you do know basketball. With life after basketball, I believe you're doing a bit of coaching in Sydney at the moment. Is that something you'd like to get into? Is it something we may see you at the NBL level or more in the school system? And I guess the second part of that question is, do you stay in Sydney? Do you come back to Adelaide? Have you probably given that much thought at all?
It's something that we talk about a little bit. I've managed to get a good job. I'm a mentor at St Joseph's College in Hunters Hill, Sydney. Shout out to the guys there. If they're listening, I highly doubt it. They should be studying. But it's been a lot of fun for me just to see it from that angle. I did a level 2 coaching course as well last year. The club helped us out with that. The classroom was myself, Andrew Bogut, Daniel Kickett, and Kevin Lish, and we were learning how to coach. It was quite entertaining, but it's fun coaching while you're still playing because you see things during the week that you can kind of help the kids out with, and you know what they feel. And unfortunately, I haven't been with them for a bit over a month now because of COVID, and I try to stay in contact. But it's something that I'm interested in doing, and if I can help in any way, I've got a lot of experience. I feel that Basketball Australia now has quite a lot of resources in guys that are kind of finishing up their careers. Andrew Bogut, Kevin Lish, these are guys that have been in Olympics, NBA. They're real good. They know the modern game, so the more we can kind of get my generation into helping the next generation, I think it's going to be pretty good.
And you mentioned Olympics. You're a 2-time Olympian yourself in 2008 and 2012. The Australian team's been announced today. Obviously, there's always optimism going forward how we're going to perform, and we always talk up a chance to win a medal. How do you see this year? Once again, it's going to be very different with what's going on with COVID. But what are your take on the squad?
Yeah, I had a bit of a look at the squad today. The one glaring hole for me, and I'm experiencing on the day, is no Andrew Bogut. I think what he brings defensively and his playmaking, it leaves a bit of a gap. Is that Baines who steps into that? He's more of a scorer type. I like to think Ben Simmons would become more of a playmaker. Or he is a playmaker. Where they'll play him will be interesting. Whereas the 4 or the 1, and the pieces you put around him, you've got Paddy and Joe who are world-class shooters. So there is potential, for the team to do really, really well. It's just it's amazing from where the squad came from back in 2004 when I first got involved to now. There might have been one NBA, even not even close to an NBA player. Now the whole thing is pretty much NBA players. So it's good to watch, and I'll definitely take note of how the guys do, and I still know guys on the team. Be interesting to see how Gorge goes coming back into the fold. He's doing pretty well at a club level. I was lucky enough to have a couple of chats with him up in Cairns at the hotel, so he's excited about the program. And their prep, that's going to be the hard one because how do you get guys in given the situation? And I hope the NBA clubs will cooperate with the federations and let the guys play and give them the best chance at Australia getting that medal.
So let's go right back to where it all began for you, up in Townsville with the Crocodiles back in 2004, I think it was. You spent 3 seasons there. Your first year, Rookie of the Year, Best Sixth Man, MVP of the All-Star Game, something that's never happened before. You must have really looked back fondly of those years in Townsville.
Yeah, they were great days. It's just a shame that the club's not around anymore. It was a successful franchise back then. I was really grateful as a kid, from out of town at 19 years old. I was approached by Ian Stacker to come in, and he told me, you'll play for this team and you'll have good minutes and a good role. And I was lucky enough to come into that team and had very good veterans, and Rob Rose and John really learnt about the day-to-day from them. Who better to learn off from those guys? And things just kind of happened for me, quite easily because I just put the work in and, had the backing of the coach and the club. And just real exciting, and it's amazing the way basketball's evolved, on and off court with the way the day to day is now to then. It's just it's a different world, and the league's come such a long way since then as well. It's just a bit of a shame this COVID hiccups happened, but I'm sure, fingers crossed, we'll get back to what it was.
Now, from Townsville, you spent a number of years overseas in the European leagues in Greece and Spain. I'm just curious, there's obviously a different style of game. What are the biggest differences between some of those leagues you played in Europe compared to what we see here in the NBL?
The first thing I learnt when I got probably to Greece, that was my first stop. First thing the guy says to me, you survive here, you'll be able to play anywhere. And funny enough, I did, and I pretty much did that my whole life. I guess they value the ball a lot over there. Here in Australia, we have a high possession, very similar to the NBA. We just get up and down and play, whereas over there it's very defensive orientated. The games aren't really that high scoring. If you have 10 to 15, you've had a pretty good game, and that's probably the glaring difference, and the adjustment I had to make was probably changing the pace of my game just a little bit, because I like to push the tempo and that kind of thing. And when I came back in 2016, first couple of games I was a bit slow, then I started pushing it again. I was like, this is how I used to play. So it was fun learning, and the things I learned over there I brought over to here, like playing off the pick and roll and those kind of things. So there's huge differences all around the world in the basketball. Probably my favourite country to play in would have been Spain, though. That was the best league I played in. It was well followed. We had a good club. When we played a good brand of basketball, they like to kind of play a bit of both. So that's the main differences are very subtle ones, but if you know basketball, you probably know what I'm talking about.
Now, I guess one of the things that's always grated on us South Australians, including most of us old boys, is the fact that people like yourself and Joe Ingles didn't play for the Adelaide 36ers and ended up playing against us in other places around Australia. But you did sign with the 36ers at one point in time, but never came to fruition. Was that, just to give us a little bit of an idea of what happened around that period?
So I think I'd finished my 3 years up in Townsville. I'd had 3 really good years. I'd just made the All-NBL second team, various other things. And in my off-seasons, I'd travel over to the States and, have a crack at making the NBA. And I was lucky enough to be drafted. And that was by Houston back in 2007, I think. And just before I went away, I was in Adelaide, and I was in a bit of a discussion with the Melbourne Tigers and the Adelaide 36ers about where I was going to go to next, because I finished up with Townsville on a good note, and I just kind of wanted to, see what I could, what was around kind of thing. The conversation was being had. Me and my dad, we flew to Melbourne. We met with the Tigers ownership, and we were in conversation here in Adelaide as well. And I came to an agreement with the 36ers, and but part of that agreement was that I could go overseas or to the NBA if my name was called. And my name did get called, and funny enough, it was the day of Darren Eng's 21st birthday. And he was having that at the Ed, and I was in town, and Darren said, do you want to come? I was like, I got a bit going on, mate. So I came to his 21st, and Phil was the coach at the time, and SJ were there, and I'd been drafted that day, and I could just feel like it probably wasn't going to work out with Adelaide, just purely because of the situation that I was in. And you know what, that they were supportive of what I did, and to their credit, they let me go. There was no hard feelings. It was part of my contract. My agent at the time, Leon Rose, had it worded in there, and there was no confusion or bad discussion, no bad blood. And I was lucky enough. I did a summer league with Houston, and they just said, look, we'd like you to go and try play in another market out of Australia, test your comfort zone a little bit. And went over to Greece and did that, and I was there for 9 years. So the NBA didn't really quite work out for me. The era is a little bit different to what it is now, I guess, with the opportunities with the G League and those kind of things. So I was playing as an import overseas, and if I said no to good jobs to try and pursue a dream, an NBA dream, it probably could have cost me quite a bit of money financially. And the NBL at that stage probably wasn't as appealing to me either, because I was still quite young and I was doing well over there. So yeah, that was the Adelaide kind of situation from back then. But no hard feelings towards anyone. We had a contract. I was almost a 36er, but yeah, didn't happen. Just to touch on the NBA, 54th pick in the second round in 2007, I think it was. I remember the year I spent up with you in Townsville. We had a Lakers scout following us around for a few days. You got drafted by Houston.
in your mind, you must look at the NBA now and some of these high-scoring games that we're just talking about, and your game would have been absolutely suited. Are there any, regrets? You wish you were playing in an era now? It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because the NBA obviously is the pinnacle of the sport. But mate, you got drafted, which most of us never did. So must have been a big thrill just for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my era of guys may have missed. I like to call it like the YouTube generation, where like this isn't a shot on anyone. It's just your exposure wasn't there. I think Andrew Bogut going number one, I think the year before, he went number one my rookie year, I reckon. And that put a bit of a microscope, I guess, on myself. And, you might get, I think we had 5 or 6 scouts might have come out that year to check me out. But yeah, I mean, it was just very limited to what the exposure. And I guess going to Europe as well, probably that wasn't really there as well, the exposure. So, it's a little bit, you think back on what could have been and now guys have gone on, like guys like Ingles, Brockhoff, a couple other guys have done well out of the European route. But once again, they're a little bit younger than me, so they kind of caught a different kind of generation again. So you could be dirty about it all, but, if I hadn't been drafted, I probably wouldn't have got to Europe and achieve what I've achieved. Like my whole dream growing up was to play for Australia at Olympic Games, and I'd kind of done that by the 23. So it was. I'm trying to think of the right words to put it in, but yeah, if that hadn't happened, I don't think it would have got on the radar as quickly as what I did. And now the kids can kind of aspire more to the NBA because it's on all the time. We're sitting here at a cafe in Adelaide, and the NBA's on at 11 o'clock in the morning. That was never on when I was 15, or it was only the Chicago Bulls, replay. So I think the kids now, because it's in their face a bit more, they can kind of focus more on that. And, any of the NBA has just kind of jumped at, and it just really wasn't there as much for us as the generation I played in.
Well, Newls, we won't wish you luck for Saturday night, obviously being here on Sixers Fix, but I guess as a South Australian, we're very proud of what you've achieved in your career. We've always watched your career with great fondness. Hopefully there's still a couple of years left in it yet. And then hopefully we might see you trotting out for the Forrestal Eagles when you're 40 for one last hurrah. What can we think about that?
I don't know about playing for Forrestal Eagles. That's my club and I love them to death. I've got a few things going on in Sydney at the moment. Yeah, I don't know if I want to be that guy who hangs in and plays ABA and gets tech fouls, and I don't think it'd be a good look for me, but be happy to support him. But yeah, we'll wait and see.
Thanks, Jules. All the rest of the best of the year.
Thanks, Scotty.
Fascinating chat you had there, Scott, with Brad Newley. And of course, that was brought to you by Sports Card World, one of our great new partners here at Sixers Fix. And boy, are we glad to have them on board. And so are our listeners, our lucky listeners that send in some questions, win some prizes, and that LA Lakers Collectors box set 2020 championship from the 2020 championship has been a big hit already. But of course, Sports Card World, they got some new stock in, Scott. Right now, there's the first of the brand new season's NBA cards that have just been released. The 2021 NBA season Panini edition NBA hoops are available. They're in store now at Sports Card World. You can have a look out for the NBL-related LaMelo Ball and RJ Hampton rookie cards, so check those out. There's also the rookie cards of Anthony Edwards and James Wiseman. Also, popular insert sets like High Voltage, Zero Gravity, Prime Twine, Legends of the Game. If it was an NBL set, that would have you on it, Scott, no doubt. But head into Sports Card World, or check them out at sportscardworld.com.au. But obviously, in the Rundle Mall, the Regent Arcade, go and check them out, and Matt and his team there will well and truly take care of you. And thanks to Sports Card World for bringing you all of our interviews for Sixers Fix for this season. Back here on Sixers Fix and Ask the Coach. We're back here with Connor Henry on on Sixers Fix, thanks to Sports Card World. Yeah, this segment's taking off, Connor, so thanks very much for being happy to be part of it. Before I get to the listeners' question, a week off in between games, you were looking forward to it after the win on Saturday. How has the week been in preparation now for this Saturday night?
Well, I think we needed the week. As we discussed last time, it's allowed us to freshen up, give DJ a couple of days off his very talented legs and body, and I think he's recovered quickly. He's been real good in the last day or so in training. And then, anytime we can give Isaac with his knee some rest, it's holding up great. We went through that little period, 3-4 weeks ago with him. So he's been good. And Josh has got a little bit of rest. Everybody, Sunday, Croc, all the lads have really come through nicely this week. Very good.
Good to hear. Okay. Now let's get to the listeners' questions. And we've got one final pack, thanks to Sports Card World, of our LA Lakers 2020 championship box set. So one of these questions will be the last winner of that box set, Connor. So we'll
great. All right, let's do it.
So we'll see how we go. Tony Sinclair's up first. He's asked, what's the one part of Josh Giddey's game he'll need to work on to elevate his game to an NBA level before the draft?
Well, I think with any point guard, it's really about understanding the flow of the game and being able to manage games at a high level. And so we're working on that with Josh, understanding time and score, shot clock, when to take risk, when to not. And, when he gets to the next level, it's really going to be about him working with older players and getting them involved at the point guard position. His scoring, his offensive efficiency will continue to grow, and he knows that. And so getting him more involved in exactly how to manage a game is really, I think, the area that we have to continue to get him to the next level.
Very good. Nate Turner's up next, and he's asked, this is on a similar vein with Josh Giddey involved as well. Has Coach been surprised by how quickly the chemistry of Giddey Hump has come around?
Well, I really haven't, because of Josh's ability to see the floor and for an 18-year-old to really understand what we're trying to do within our systems. And so the combination of Josh getting downhill with Isaac, long rolling down to the rim, or deep seals where we can punch the ball into him. Josh is seeing that. Isaac's doing a great job of being physical, sealing, when he catches the ball, being on balance and being able to finish. And that's something that we've been working on with Ice for a good month and a half. And it's really about his balance. And so he's embraced that. He wants to be coached. And Giddey and he are really having a good combination right now, finding each other and allowing both of them to put pressure on the rim and finding ways to score.
Excellent. Now, Lee White has asked I think it's a bit of a lighthearted one. When are you going to cop a tech foul for the team? Right now, you probably don't need to.
Well, hopefully it's not going to happen at all. I'm working on my energy and my communication with the officials, trying to get better understanding on what they're seeing. It's a very, very physical league. Mm-hmm. I think it's actually more physical now than 10 years ago when I was here, and that's okay. We want it to be equal on both ends. We want to play from a position of strength and physicality, and I think the referees are doing a good job of, when I have a question or when I'm emotional and having a little bit of a spray at them, that they're able to process and hopefully see that my intent is to get a clarification on whatever the call it is. So, hopefully, I can grow with the relationship with the officials. My energy can be focused, and at the end of the day, I'm going to back my players and try to put them in a position to succeed on the court.
Very good. Now, Michael Murray, and I'm glad we've got a question about Sunday Dash, because he's He's playing such unbelievable basketball right now at both ends. He's asked, with Sunday being a key on defense, what can we do to highlight him more in offense? He looks good when he's involved, but sometimes looks like he defers to others at the offensive end.
Well, the good thing about the system, as you know, Chris, is that when the ball moves, the ball will find the open man, and that allows whoever's turn it is to make the right play. Sunday's playing at a really high level on both ends. He's knocking down the corner three. He's walking in on kickback out at the top of the key, knocking threes down. And then he's really doing a good job of getting in deep off a pick and roll and using his float game, as you've seen, off the glass or straight on. So he's doing a really good job on both ends, just understanding system, being in a position to score when he needs to. And I think he's taking the right risk on the offensive end to attack the basket and to put pressure on the defense and then make the right read and either score or find his teammate.
Yep, totally agree. Okay, so that's our listeners' questions. I've got two more that I want to finish off that come from me just very quickly, Connor. One of them is about Sunday, and listening to your press conference after the game on Saturday, I loved your answer when you said that you want to have Sunday on the floor all the time. The only time you want him to come off is when he needs a rest. I loved your answer, but the question was sort of framed around he didn't score in the first half, so why did you have him on the court? Were you a little bit surprised the way the question was sort of framed?
Yeah, some of the questions that come in the press conference are ones that are good questions for the most part, but a lot of times they may not quite understand what our system is and what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've got Croc and Sunday as two elite defenders. I need them on the floor as much as I possibly can get them on there. We've got to give Giddy a few minutes rest so he can be efficient when he's managing games. Sunday and Croc are going to be out there as much as we possibly can because there are two elite defenders and they have to guard the other team's best players.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I mean. I loved your answer, but the question just absolutely blew me away. Now, one last one. This is a little bit self-indulgent. I still think the most memorable night I've ever spent at an NBL game, now this isn't a great memory for you, so bear with me, was your last game as the Wildcats coach. That night in that building at Challenge Stadium, I've never been in a building with such energy at an NBL game. I know it wasn't a great night for you, so that's not why I want to bring it up. So you go through that night, it ended up being the end of your time as Wildcats coach, but now you come back to this is the point of the question, you come back to the league in 2020, and all of a sudden that the same person who was the villain on that night, Corey Williams, all of a sudden he's the face of the league. What have you made of that transition?
Well, I love Corey Homicide Williams. He does what he does? He does an unbelievable job of promoting the league, and yet a lot of people think he's just promoting it when in fact he reads the game well as a former point guard. His analysis is spot on. He really is a great ambassador for the NBL. Too bad he and John really lit us up that final game in Perth, and we didn't quite get to the grand final. But I've forgiven him, and he and I have good chats when we catch up.
No, very good. Thanks for indulging me on that. Well answered, and thanks again for being with us here on Sixers Fix with our Ask the Coach segment. Thanks to Sports Card World, and let's get another win now against the Kings on Saturday night.
Let's get a win, and I'll talk to you next week, Chris. Thank you.
Okay, back on Sixers Fix with Scott Ninnis, and really enjoyed your chat with Brad Newley, Scott, and then thanks to Connor Henry for being generous with his time on our Ask the Coach segment as well. Hopefully all enjoyed that. I especially liked last week, Scott, where we had a chance to reflect back on some of his days with Larry Bird and the Celtics, and we got to talk about how Larry just thought that Connor Henry was lower than dirt. Wouldn't even scrub him off the bottom of his shoe. He thought he was that low. So the fact that we can talk to somebody that's got those sort of personal stories with legends like that, it's pretty special here on Sixers Fix.
Oh, mate, you wouldn't be able to do that this day and age. Treating a rookie like that, you'd be reported to, the bosses. But yeah, no, I think it's, it's incredible to have someone of Connor's experience, leading this team, and obviously, what he did as a player and playing with Larry Bird and that sort of ilk was incredible. But we're excited about what he's doing, coaching our team now, and very exciting going forward and seeing what they can do for the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this Saturday night, back at the Adelaide Entertainment Centre, it's up against the Sydney Kings. Both teams have had a full week to, I guess, look back on what happened last week and now get ready for this week. Neither teams had to travel, so you couldn't be, I guess, more evenly placed coming into this game. It's very rarely that you get this sort of a situation. What are you expecting from the game?
Oh, look, I'm expecting both teams to make adjustments, to be honest with you. I think, Sydney are going to sit there. They're going to be pissed off they lost last week. They're going to feel that they had every chance to win that game the way they got back into it with getting up the floor and trapping and seeing some of the turnovers that the 36ers made. They'd be buoyed by the form of Vasiljevic. I know Newley is sitting there grumpy they didn't win last week, and when you got a guy that's a competitor like that, he's going to come out and he's still angry that he got those 2 early fouls and was limiting his court time. On the other side of the fence, you would think the Sixers will be able to make adjustments too. They're not going to want those easy catch and shoot baskets, and so I expect a closer contest. I expect Sydney to come out firing, and I think the Sixers need to weather that storm at the start of the game. But I'm going to be really disappointed if we don't win this game as well. I think this is an opportunity now. This is a team with what they have with the injuries they're covering, that we should win this game. It's at home. I've always been the one that says you need to take care of business at home. We've had these 6 games. We've had our smallest crowd's been 5,700. Yeah. Our biggest crowd's been 7,000. It's been nothing short of incredible to have that support, especially the times when we're playing every 2 days or 2 or 3 days. So, you've got that support. I think the team should go in with a great deal of confidence. I expect a close game, but I expect it's a game that we should win.
You make a good point about the schedule, because over the first 3 weeks, they played 6 games and there was at times only 2 days in between games. Now that they've had a full week, what sort of benefit can the 36ers get out of that, just to freshen up the bodies, but to also maybe work on some extra complex ways to set up and offenses and defenses? Maybe it was a bit more of a chance to implement a bit more things for Connor and the coaching staff as well.
Oh, the coaches would love it. I mean, you get 2 or 3 days off. I mean, there's not much you can implement in that time. Certainly not as an on-court from a training perspective. I mean, you don't have the time. So, Connor and Jamie would be loving the fact that they've got some time to sort of implement some different things and maybe some adjustments to what they do at both ends of the court. So from a coaching perspective, it would be awesome. I think from the players' perspective, with what they've had, it would almost be a little bit disappointing that they're not getting those quick back-to-back games. But I guess, once again, it also gives them a bit of time to get off their legs, any of those niggling little problems, which, teams always have. So, but that's also the same for the Sydney Kings as well. So I think, I still think it benefits us just purely for the fact that we're home. Yeah. Sydney haven't been home since the 26th of December.
Yeah.
And speaking to Brad Newley about that last night, hasn't seen his wife, hasn't seen his 2 kids. Yeah. Since then, I mean, that's
for this whole year. We're already into February. He hasn't seen them for this whole year.
That's nuts. So that's got to play in your mind at times as well. So whereas we're at home, we're going home to our families every night. We're still doing our normal routine. COVID hasn't really been a problem here. You can still go about your normal life pretty much. So I think there's no excuses for us not to come out and do well on Saturday night.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to Saturday night at the Entertainment Centre. Very tough to get a ticket right now. That 7,000 crowd was pretty much bang on capacity at the moment. So make sure you get your ticket if you haven't already and get along to watch this game against the Kings. Really enjoyed this show again, Scott. I think we're building some momentum here on Sixers Fix, and I'm really enjoying what we're doing, and I really appreciate the support to make it possible that we're getting from Australian Motors Mitsubishi, AllStar Photos, Sports Card World, and of course Premium Wine Tours. So we just wouldn't be able to be here without their support. So thank you very much for your ongoing support. I'm Chris Pike, and I'll sign off for another week and leave you with the legend himself, the man who, let's hope that when the number 9 goes up in the rafters at the Entertainment Centre, it's got his name on it, not Jack McVeigh's, Scott Ninnis.
Well, I played in number 6 more than I played in number 9. This is my problem. I played in 6, 9 and 21, so there's no real no real one number. Look, mate, my number's never going to go up, and it shouldn't either. I mean, it's I think we've got it right here in Adelaide. You look up and there's number 5 Brett Maher, there's 33 Mark Davis, there's number 4 Daryl Pearce, there's number 15 Al Green. I mean, they are the cream of the crop. I mean, we've got some outstanding guys like Mike Mackay and Kevin Brooks and Darnell Mee and so on. So I think the only bloke that, we've set a fairly high bar. I reckon Daniel Johnson might have a chance, in a couple of years' time, but no, I guess we're very excited about what the history that we've created with this club, and just looking forward to it moving forward.